Welcome to Beyond Better, a podcast that explores a simple but profound idea. We all deserve to live lives we love, and that includes our work lives too. I'm STACYENNIS, an author and longtime location-independent entrepreneur living in Portugal with my family of 4. Join me as I talk business, location independence, writing, travel, and so much more. All focused on building a life that is beyond better. Welcome. I am really glad to be back with you this week, and I have a really different and very interesting episode. We're going to talk a little bit more about, I would say, a special type of marketing that you can do with a service that is new and very cool. So I'm really excited to get to share this with you today. And I want to just give you a little reminder, if you are a fan of the pod, please take a moment to rate and leave a review. And if you leave one, I might read it on an upcoming episode. So I really appreciate your help getting the podcast out to more listeners and exposing more people to the podcast. I'm really excited this week to introduce you to Virginia Frischkorn. Virginia is the founder and CEO of Partytrick, a tech platform built to disrupt the event industry, helping to make planning and executing highly curated events accessible and convenient for everyone. She is also the founder of luxury event production company Bluebird Productions, Something Blue, and the Aspen Picnic Company. Throughout her 14-year career in the event industry, she's gained prestige among her peers as one of the top event planners in the country. She has been named Best Wedding Planner by Vogue, Brides, and Over the Moon, and was also recognized as one of Biz Bash's must-know event pros. Virginia, I'm so glad to be here with you today.
Thank you, Stacy. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Back in the day, I was a co-founder of a women's leadership training company, and we did events. That was our main way that we connected with women was through 2-day events. And they were very customized, very beautiful, every single little touch. And so I know from personal experience how much energy and effort goes into any event of any scale, but certainly something that is has that luxe feel to it and that that high touch feel to it. So I'm really excited to get to talk with you today and learn a little bit more about how do you create that experience and how you've created a platform to make that easier. I know that you founded your company during a pretty challenging time in your life, and you had a pivotal realization that helped you build this business that makes this more curated experience more accessible to more people. Tell me a little bit about that journey and what Partytrick is and how it helps people throw amazing events.
Amazing. So the idea for Partytrick came in 2020. I think a lot of people have this 2020 pivotal moment. Mine's a little bit different. So when we lost the ability to throw these large scale productions, I kept my staff. I kept everyone on team and saying, okay, well, we're not going to be planning events in person this year, but I want to build a company that teaches people how to do it at home. So we started building and trying to develop, which was what is now the beta for what's called Partytrick now. And I launched the company in August. So we had 10 of us going full force from May until August. And the day after I launched, my father passed away unexpectedly. And I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids. I live in Colorado. My father was back on the East Coast still. I have an older brother, a little sister, and his passing was this moment for all of us. It was very unexpected. He was 67, where we took a pause, and we had a forced pause because of COVID, but we had a really forced pause because of this to reevaluate what was important in life. What did we want our legacy to be? How did we want to show up for our children? My sister had just had a baby. I have 2. My brother has 2. And we all had these very large career shifts post losing our father. My dad was larger than life. He was the ultimate host. He was such a charmer. Some gatherings were massive and we'd have bands, and some were just people over for dinner. And he made everyone feel so special. And I think, after 14 plus years of doing these large over the top multi-million-dollar productions and then having this happen, what I really realized is it's the experience that matters most. It's not the things in life. It's how you experience, it's how you share time with people. That at the end of the day is what really matters. And I was pulled so far away from my children in these crazy summers where I'd have these, we call them wedding hangovers, right? So you'd have these wedding hangovers, and I couldn't show up the way I wanted to. And I realized I can teach people how to do what I do. I can teach them what my dad did. I can give them the tools, the tips, the tricks, the ability to experience phenomenal time together. So fast forward, we created what is now Partytrick. Ultimately, we're a software company, and we provide people with the tools to design, plan, and host an exceptional gathering. Some people are great at hosting. Some people are great at designing. Some are good at the plan, the food, the beverage. But it's very rare to find someone who's good at all three of those pieces. And when you have all three of those pieces, the plan, the design, and then the execution, the production component, you can actually enjoy what you're hosting. Most people don't enjoy hosting that much. Like, they get so stressed. So what Partytrick is, we're the software, the digital platform that provides those tools. And you can use it for Taco Tuesday, to a book club, to a birthday, to a brunch. So that's a little bit about why we and how we came to be.
Oh, I love that so much. The vision behind it. Thanks for sharing about the loss and how that informed you. I mean, moments like that, I think they cause us to take stock of our life, and really, it's like a raw and real moment where we are like, is this what I want? Is this what I want to continue? And what a beautiful way to honor his legacy through this awesome service that you provide.
Thank you.
I would love to talk a little bit about that pivot that you made, because for a lot of people, we kind of go through life on autopilot, and the idea of making a big change, a big shift, is really scary. And you had a realization, and you shifted, and you're building something new. What did you learn from that might help a listener who's considering doing something similar?
Well, when I launched my first companies with Bluebird in particular, I was 24, and I just jumped in. I was like, oh, this is great. I had a few cares. I didn't have children. I wasn't married at that time. I didn't have the responsibilities. And, what's interesting is I'm in my late 30s now. When I launched Partytrick, I didn't throw away, but I really put the other businesses aside. They're still there. But to make a pivot and to make a change, when you're already in this like high trauma, but also to take something that's been very successful, to take those companies and say, you know what, I know I can build something that is more impactful. It's more rewarding for myself, and it's more rewarding to others. Put that aside and just dive right on in. It takes a lot of courage. And I think when you're young, you can jump in and be like a little bit stupid and take those larger risks. So now what's different is calculating your risks. Is it worth it? Is it not? I think for anything, you have to be all in. I am very much one of those people who I subscribe to the whole like Nike, just do it. There is never the right time to start a new business, to have a baby, to sell a house, move, whatever it might be. You just get out and do it. And yes, have a backup plan. Be a little bit more calculated if the stakes are higher in your personal life and people are depending upon you. But I think for me, one of the biggest points of wisdom, you're never ready. It's never the right time. It's never just do it. Just go and jump and do it.
I couldn't agree more. It's interesting. I feel like we're kind of business timeline twins, because I was about 24 when I started my business. So it's been nearly 14 years in business. You go through so many pivots, but when you start a business at that age, you have so little dependencies. You don't usually have little humans that you have to take care of. You don't have a lot of financial obligations. You have like a lot of freedom of time. You can, work for very little money for a while you get things off the ground. And so I think sometimes when you get more anchored in your life, it can feel really scary to make that leap. But I've seen so many people do that over the years and be successful at it. And I think a lot of it, to your point, is about really leaning in, like going for it. The people that don't tend to be successful, they're not like fully leaning in. They have like a foot back here, and they're kind of leaning that direction. But I feel like you have to really go for it and really want it.
Yeah. It's, you're either 100% in the pool or you're not. It's like jumping in, lean in, dive right. And again, like look and see how deep the water is. Don't dive into a shallow pool. But if you can't just test it out. it's hard to just, or I don't believe you can. I think it's very hard to really fully commit without actually making that leap. So lean
Mhm.
in, make the decision, but look at the risks. Is it worth it?
Yeah, that risk assessment is key as well. I want to talk about a new service that you're launching. It's why I invited you on this podcast because I think this is such a cool concept. So you are launching a white label book club party. It's
Mhm.
going to be very soon available. And I'd love to hear a little bit about this. So tell us what it is and tell us exactly how that service works. So if somebody were to inquire about it and want to start this service, can you walk us through the steps of what they would go through and what would be the deliverable to them on the other side?
Definitely. A little bit before that, I wanted to share we offer custom parties at Partytrick. So when people are a member, they can request a party. And in the beginning, the most common request was a book club. So we would get people writing in and say, "Oh, I really want, can you help me build an experience around this book that I just read? I want my book club to be better than, the person who hosted last month." Gotta love a little healthy competition. But
Love it.
what that did is it inspired us to really realize we have an opportunity to help brands, to help authors, to help people, whatever it might be, by using our platform to expand their offering. And I find, word of mouth is the best way to get like things, out and about. So if you were it started because we had, a liquor brand and they wanted to do a fully customized experience. They didn't want to do what we were doing in terms of the food, the beverage. They really wanted to be highly, highly curated. And we're like, you know what? We're not getting as many liquor brands, but we're getting a ton of book clubs and a lot of people who want this. So fast forward, our software can basically be lifted out of Partytrick and brought over in a very similar way that like course software can be if you wanted to launch an online course. And what we do with people who want to do white labeled parties is we'll work with you. We will design, visually what it will look like, and then get an understanding of, okay, if you've just launched a book and you want to do a book club around your book, how do you want people to experience it? We'll kind of go through an interview process. We can help then curate an experience so people can gather, have a book club around your book. You may want to give us the questions, but we can come up with great playlists and the food that may work best, the beverages that may work best. So ultimately, you have your own white labeled book club about your book, and it's just powered by Partytrick. So with Partytrick, we talk about the food, the beverage, the playlist, how to invite people, how to have a great custom experience, how to have your guests have a good time, what it might look like, how to do that easily at home. Our goal with this is accessibility. It is not about this ultra luxe experience, curated so it's easy. And then my favorite feature is if you're having people over at 6:00 and say you're having cocktails and just like apps, we provide the host, whomever's hosting your book club, with all the tools so that they will know what to do, when to do it. 2 weeks out, how to invite the guest, and then we'll make sure they do it. 10 days out, ordering the food, ordering whatever decor, down to 2 hours before, opening up the windows for some fresh air, 10 minutes before with kind of timed alerts of, hey, your guests are about to arrive, so that they can actually host the book club in a fashion where they enjoy it and they can be relaxed. I think that one of the greatest gifts is when a host is relaxed. If they're very stressed out, the people who are there don't enjoy it the same way. I think a book club is a phenomenal time to get together, share, connect, talk about what they've just read. And so for us, we want to empower the hosts and offer this service so authors have an ability to kind of add a different avenue. Like this doesn't exist. You can say, go do a book club and give them a couple questions, but it takes it to that next level. It makes it really easy for people to host this true experience.
I love the way that you're talking about this because it is a lot of it is about like the planning and the execution, and that can feel really overwhelming. And I actually get a lot of questions from my clients and students as they're getting ready to launch their books, like, how does this actually work? Do I read something? Like, I assume I'm going to sign books. So I'm curious to know the term book club, is that different than like a book launch, or do you kind of consider those one and the same potentially?
It could be one and the same. You can do a custom party around a book launch. You could
Mhm.
do a book club, and the experiences around how you want people to have the book experience like in perpetuity. I think if a book is launching, having hosts across launch, like, as the author, you may do that where you're physically located, but if you can get your network empowered to actually have a launch around, and have people gather, that's less of the like intimate, cozy, like wine book club, and have a party, and they can host parties. So you could write the experience around a launch. Additionally, if you want the book to keep circulating, which is obviously most people's goal, you don't want to have it one and done, right? Having these experiences, and we found that what people are most interested in is offering it. So when you sell the book, you can basically say, here's a QR code for how to do the experience. Go sign up here.
Cool.
Yeah.
I
So it
love
makes
that
it
idea.
it's just a bonus. It's an add-on. And what it does is then it opens up your book to their network, right? So Stacey, you write a book, I buy it. As part of when I buy it, I get a QR code of how to host the perfect party. Now I host a party around it, whether it's a launch, whether I host I would do a launch for a friend, but if not, I like the book, I want to host a book club. I've now done a fabulous book club, and I've introduced your book to 10 of my besties. So it allows you to kind of create some virality around in a way that's not just social media or how do I actually get this out there? It's a great way to tap into your readers' networks.
That's so cool. My mind's already like running off in a bunch of directions on marketing ideas around this. It's such a fun, like just different avenue. I was thinking about, when it comes to launching a book, obviously we put so much effort into the social media launch, the email marketing campaign. But really what I found in business and almost anything is that like the actual humans that touch the thing, whatever it is, in this case, book, like they're the ones that actually will be your wave creators that will spread out to others. So it's really tapping into that like human capital, that human network that can help get the word out about your book.
Yeah. We have an author who launched, and again, it's very relevant to our space in terms of entertaining, but launched a new cookbook. And she's on her book tour right now, and she's kind of going all over the States, doing readings, signings, etc. And what we've been talking with her about is outside of the launch, like she's in pretty good shape with her launch. It's really, how do I get people, how do I stay relevant? And how do I keep this in? And so for her, we are creating experiences. And again, hers is in the hosting space. We're doing kind of like a co-branded party where for us, we provide some of the tips and tricks and the decor potentially, with her input. So it feels very on brand for her, but it's a cookbook. So again, we've got all of the recipes coming from her. So it allows her and her users to experience her cookbook in a different fashion. So even if they have the physical book, yes, we'll have some of the recipes online now, and they can have a whole experience. It feels very much like as if she was there doing the party in their home.
That's cool. I love that. I love that concept. So this has gotten me thinking about my last co-authored book that came out, and we had a couple of launches around that book, and they're both such amazing experiences for different reasons. The first one, because it was in my hometown, we had a huge turnout, and it was just so joyful. It was in this really cozy space that was one of the settings from the book, and it was so fun. And then the second one was in the Seattle area, and we had like these cool custom cupcakes with our book cover on it and a bunch of just really custom pieces in a really beautiful setting. And there were elements of both of those that were really ideal and made it really special. And I'm curious, with your background in event planning, if you could share a few tips with our audience on like, how do you create that feeling of, it's almost like a meaningfulness to the event? What are some things that people could do in their own upcoming gatherings?
Yeah, I think intentionality. Everything's about the intention behind it. And so what do you want people to walk away with? I love a moment of spark and delight. So those are, again, just to kind of set the foundation. When I design an experience or when I design an event, I think about what are the words I want people to walk away with at the end. Do I want them to be relaxed, joyous, debaucherous? Like, what do I want the emotion to, like, what emotions do I want evoked? So when people leave that in-person experience, and then how do I put those bits of, how do I design to make that happen? So is it the food? Is it the beverage? I love the unexpected details. So this sounds funny, but the funny cocktail napkins, cute little stir sticks, paying attention to the restroom, making sure that the music is appropriate level, the lighting. So being really intentional with each little area, because the ones that are little that you don't think matter. So again, the quality of the lighting in a space actually really impacts how people feel. So think about if it's daytime super bright versus at nighttime, you don't want harsh overhead light on people. They tend not to look as good. Use side lights all around the room, do a ton of candles. So just as much fun as it is to go and do a lot of customization around, a person, a brand, or what have you, those little details can actually impact the takeaway even more than a physical tangible item. With that said, find one fun tangible item. Again, do like a custom. I love doing like a custom monogram or icon on a stir stick. Very low lift, doesn't take a lot of time. You can get them on Etsy. And people notice. People notice those little details. So those are things for me. I like to customize it to either if it's a couple, or we've done a lot of work with a lot of the LVMH brands. So it's the subtle branding that we can kind of incorporate on cocktail napkins that actually really do change how people experience the shared time.
It's like those extra little touches that signify pre-planning. Like, I thought about this. I put intention into this.
A little pre-planning pays off so much. People are really, really aware when that intentionality is there. They're like, oh, they care. And if you care, it means that you care about the time that people are sharing together, and you're really valuing their time because you want them to have a great experience.
Yes, I love that. It's like about caring for people, right? And creating a moment, creating an experience. It's interesting that you mentioned candles. I heard a colleague friend of mine mentioned that every time she hosts a gathering, she lights candles, has something out that people can eat when they arrive, and turns on music. And like those three things is kind of a baseline for a gathering. I've started doing that, and I actually feel better as a host. Like, it just feels a little bit more intentional than somebody just walked into my quiet home with nothing out.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's why one of our reminders with Partytrick is to turn your music on, because I can tell you I've hosted thousands of gatherings and still sometimes I forget to turn the music on before. So having the music on is a really great hack, and just a simple reminder. I also, in addition to having a little food out, I love having some drink pre-poured ready to go. It allows them the option to accept it or not, whether it's a great mocktail, a great cocktail that's just pre-batched, it's ready. They don't have to think. People don't really want to think that much at the end of the day when they're coming over, and they can then accept it or reject it versus walking in and being like, oh, what would you like? Do you want wine? Do you want a margarita? Do you want a mocktail? No one wants to be peppered with questions like that when they walk into an experience. So even if they don't want the Negroni that you pre-batched, it allows them to say, oh, I actually don't care for that, but I would love a glass of water. It makes their experience, it's very subtle, but it actually impacts their, how they feel right when they walk in the door.
Oh, that's so great. I love that. So you're talking about the fact that you've done thousands of events. I'm curious to know if you have a very memorable event moment that you can share with us, either like amazing or like one of those, like, I can't believe that happened.
So many of there are so many, but I love things that are a bit novel, right? And a lot of, if you look at my brands, Bluebird Productions and Aspen Picnic Company, they're beautiful, they're timeless, they're elegant, they're just very luxe. But one event that was incredibly meaningful, and it's funny because it was actually like this time, we're going into Aspen Food and Wine Classic here. I'm in Colorado. And it was a party that was done actually at a mine. So Aspen is an old mining town, and the largest chunk of silver ever found was here. And so this mine, which is called the Smuggler Mine, people go hike right by it all the time. We actually hosted one of the first parties there. And so we were doing mine tours, and we had a tattoo booth. And again, not what you would expect at all. And we had all of these crazy chefs and liquor brands, and we had a tattoo booth, and we had people with
real tattoos?
Oh, like real tattoos. Yes. So it was this insane party that was so different because it was so different. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go and you have a tattoo artist. There's really great little fake ones that you can do from Tattly, but novelty impacts people. It imprints in their memory. So having one wild thing, maybe not like, I wouldn't say a stir stick is novel, but have that crazy tattoo artist do something. I mean, for me, in thousands of them, that memory of being at this gritty mine, a tattoo artist, it was so much fun because it was so different. It was new. People hadn't experienced that. So I think that was really, I mean, I know a lot of other people who were at that who to this day, it goes down as one of the best. And it wasn't like the fanciest at all. It was just something different.
That is amazing. Did anybody get a tattoo, by
Oh
the
yeah,
way?
like 5 or 6 people did, which there may
Really?
have been more. That's what I saw. I don't know. I think it's personally not the best idea, but that was a weird vendor request when they came and they're like, we need you to find a tattoo artist. We're like, okay, that's going to be fun. Who's going to agree to do all these drunk people who are probably going to sue him after? But
Oh, wow. That is definitely a novelty. That's for sure. Oh man, I've got tears now. That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. I just went to when I was in Zurich a few weeks back, and I went to this fine dining experience at a Korean restaurant. Food was great. I love Korean food. And to your point on the novelty, the host sang opera, like this beautiful opera at different intervals throughout the night. And when he first did it, my friend that I was there with and I were like, whoa, what is happening right now? But then it just became this really special experience because it was so different. Like, who expects that at Korean fine dining? Like this amazing opera singer.
yeah.
So it's those moments that you can create. I think they have such an impact.
And I think there's got to be like a reason in a way, like either someone's good skill or it fits with a vibe, like if it's just placed there. So thinking about like, don't just try to create something novel for the sake of it. Like that worked, right? And that worked in this party in particular. I used to have clients who are like, well, I want it to be really unique. Like, but there's really, and I hate saying this, the venue's very vanilla. I can't pull out a unique detail between your all stories. So I would like dive deep to be like, okay, like we had this couple, this is funny. They loved gnomes, like garden gnomes. And so we ended up getting a ton, like 100 little white 2-inch tall garden gnomes. So not like with all the color. And we hid them all around the venue. And like we put some in the bathroom stalls and we put some in the flowers. It was really funny, but it didn't look cheesy. I mean, this was like $1 million+ event and it was pretty, like, it was great. It was like, beautiful, gorgeous, but that was a little bit of novelty and it worked because we finally were able to pull out what's some weird quirk. So if there's, a character in a book, if there is a personality quirk that we want to pull out, whether it's a go-to, I always ask this question when I see people. Those are the things that are they may not feel novel to the client. They may not feel novel to you when you're thinking about designing an experience that's representative. Like I would have a hard time doing that for myself because I'm not quote unquote interesting to myself, right? Like that's familiar, but it's sometimes good to go and ask your friends. Like if you want to host an experience that has a bit of novelty, ask your friends, like what's really unique? And it feels like a little egotistical, but I do think if you're like, I know that I have unique characteristics, what are they? There'll be that mirror that reflects back. And then you can kind of, if you really want something truly more outside of the box, I find that to be very helpful.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that little touch, the gnomes. I bet that was a lot of fun for people.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how the service works from like a pricing standpoint? You mentioned a membership, and it sounds like there's some more off, like not out of the box, but more like already created and then custom. How does that all work?
Yeah, definitely. So what we're doing with our white label is we have a one-time onboarding fee. And it ranges between $2,000 and $5,000 just to onboard, basically where we're going to write this platform for you. And we're going to write kind of the party. We'll build out a fully custom platform. And then ultimately, it's just a monthly fee for, this is for like a truly white labeled party for you to have it up. It's not based on how many users you share it with. If you want to sell it, great, sell it. If you want to offer it free, you're welcome to sell it. Or you can offer it for free. So you can recoup your onboarding, or you can just offer it as a bonus add-on to kind of spread the word as part of kind of marketing dollars. So it's just this onboarding fee to kind of get the platform all set up. For Partytrick in general, we do offer memberships that are roughly $89 a year or $9 a month. And that provides full access to all of our platform, all of the parties that are on there. And then our co-branded parties. So if you're on our site and you see kind of collaborations and those co-branded parties, we've set those up. Some of those are paid, and they range really based on the brand and kind of your audience size, our audience size. We have a big range there. We also set those up as affiliates. So if you bring people to Partytrick, and we wanted to do it that way, we offer you 50% commission lifetime of people who are coming to Partytrick. And convert. So then they're really becoming our customer. You're giving them a great experience, but ultimately they're ours. Whereas if it's a white labeled experience, we don't touch them, or we can't take their information. They belong to you. And it's just this one-off onboarding. Again, sell it. You're welcome to, and we can assist with that. The payment processing component, or you can just offer it as an amenity, as a perk for buying the book. Does that make sense? It's a little bit confusing. It's a lot of options.
You have a good range though, which I think is awesome. You have like a more price accessible for people who want to have access to more of your offerings, more of your gatherings. And then you have this other that for somebody that really is wanting to make a marketing investment, that it's great that you offer such a wide range. So thanks for sharing more about that.
Of course.
So tell our listeners, our viewers, where to learn more about you and how to get in touch if they're interested in joining your membership or doing a white label.
Definitely. So find us at partytrick.com. And on the bottom, there's information on partnerships. You can just reach out to us that way. You can click if you're interested in white label, a co-branded party, or even just like placement in some of our parties if it's a fit. And just check us out there.
Well, thanks, Virginia. This was a lot of fun. I loved hearing your stories. And I mean, I left with already tips to implement in my next gathering. So thanks for that.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much, Stacy.
And thank you for joining us today. I always love getting to bring you different experts. And I thought this was such a fun and unique thing to focus on this week. As always, I want to say thank you to Rita for producing this podcast, Catherine for her project management, and Kim for helping make sure everything is error-free that goes out into the world. This team makes this podcast possible, and I am grateful. I will be back with you before you know it.